This Saturday night, it's an orange out at Auburn this weekend as Auburn takes on Mississippi State this coming Saturday. Auburn is expected to play without Avery Jones starting center. Things could get a little interesting on the Plains. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Go ahead and let's get the comment section active. I want to know your opinion because there are a lot of different things that are taking place at Auburn. And I think this is a litmus test as to where Auburn will end the rest of their season. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Down in Deep South, college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. Auburn, now 3-4, have an opportunity at bowl eligibility with the back end of the schedule appearing to be manageable in comparison to the front end. Now, the front end, let me go ahead and rewind this thing for those who haven't really paid much attention to what has transpired. Auburn began the season, obviously, with, not too much competition first couple of games, then taking on California. Then there was that stretch with Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Those teams that have actually either recruited a lot better than Auburn up to this point or were ranked in the top 15 in the country. Auburn actually took Georgia down to the wire, 27-20. Auburn also with a 7-point margin of error against Ole Miss. Ole Miss can move the football, so to hold Ole Miss 28 points, considering all things involved, I think is something that you can build on. And if you look at the mood of the Auburn fan base, Auburn wants to win right now. You know, they are to the point where obviously the moral victories, done with that, done with first, the fact that, Hugh Freeze is the first year, they're ready to win. And they're ready to win now. Now, I think one thing that Auburn fans can rest their laurels on is, hey, they've competed. They've competed outside of that Texas A&M game. That's the only game of the season where it was a little bit on the air of lopsidedness. But I think Auburn has competed. Connor Lew is expected to take on the reps for center in the game against Mississippi State as center. Now, everyone knows, especially with the run-pass option, the center position is very important because you got to make sure you get some clean snaps. Also, the center has to be one of the more athletic linemen because you got to be able to go left or right. You got to be able to read defenses. And the lack of experience could play a role against a very talented Mississippi State defense in which Hugh Freeze describes as a team that creates a lot of chaos. They're going to test Connor Lew with the shifts right before snap. They're going to put him in some awkward situations, and we can only hope that that has been coached throughout the week. Now, Auburn has also been struggling to figure out stability as to what the pace is going to be like. Making sure that plays are executed properly. I think the play of the week that most media outlets are talking about, that Hugh Freeze actually commented on in his presser, was the opening play of the game. Robbie Ashford took on the field as the starting quarterback. Play call was designed for Jeremiah Cobb to keep on a run-pass option, which in this case, as Hugh Freeze described, there wasn't an option. He was to hand the ball off to Jeremiah Cobb. If you do look at the film, I invite you to look at the film. It's all over. Jeremiah Cobb would have at least got the first down on that play. Got to execute those. Now, on boards, coming into town is Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a team that has endured some adversity. Mike Leach, longtime head coach in college football, most recently at Mississippi State, after going 8-4 in the regular season, ended the season ranked number 20th in the AP poll, which led Mississippi State to a bowl game, dies in between the last game of the season and the bowl game. Very tragic. He was a staple in the Southeastern Conference, always known for his dry comedy in his pressers. It was a really interesting time, I would assume, for the SEC, and especially for Mississippi State, especially as Mississippi State was starting to, to take the turn. And very likely that, I don't see how any Mississippi State player who is currently on the team could not feel the blow from this, because they were recruited, most of them recruited by Mike Leach, and given the opportunity to play college football at Mississippi State. Zach Arnett takes on as head coach, wins the bowl game. Currently 4-3 with key wins on the season against Arkansas and Arizona. But much like Auburn, they're struggling with the meat of the Power Five, losing to LSU, losing to South Carolina, losing to Alabama, losing those games by 7 points or more. And what Mississippi State is looking for is the same thing that Auburn is looking for. A quarterback change for Mississippi State. Will Rogers got off to a pretty promising start, 1,200 yards passing the football under a new system with Zach Arnett. Sidelined with a shoulder injury in lopsided win against Western Michigan. And now Mike Wright steps in as a starter. Now, video footage shows that Mike Wright has a unique ability to pass the ball downfield. He's also a threat in the run-pass option, and you should definitely see that in this game against Auburn. Now, a key point that you want to look at, Auburn has had some issues with passing the football. Mississippi State had to replace 5 starters from the secondary, they had a good game against Arkansas, but that was a small sample size of what this capability is. Even though these guys are, starting to come on, I think Auburn has the capability to right some wrongs in the passing game in this game against Mississippi State and right the ship. One thing Auburn has to do, and we've seen some success at this, when they run tempo, they're actually pretty good. And they have the guys in place that can actually make this happen. Brian Battie, I think he can make some explosive plays. Jeremiah Cobb can make some explosive plays. Jerquez Hunter showed last week with a 53-yard run for a touchdown that he's still capable of making plays. I would even like to see, I've been advocating this for the year, I would like to visualize even Sean Jackson, big-bodied back that has some good intermediate speed, to be incorporated in on the offense as well. Peyton Thorne, in my opinion, should be the starter to begin this particular football game. I think that he has the capability, just like against Georgia, to get the offense going, to get the things moving in the right direction, to get the ball to some playmakers. I think they've had enough time to figure out who those guys are. And considering the fact that Mississippi State is a good football team, they're 4-3. They got a better record than Auburn. But considering they are a good football team, but they have some entities in their football game that Auburn should be able to try to implement some pace, because you have an inexperienced quarterback who you don't necessarily have to trade points against. You look at the game against Arkansas, only scoring 7 points. Now, mind you, the defense holds Arkansas to 3, but you have the opportunity to where you're not so in a state of anxiety about, okay, if I go 3 and out often, then the opposing team has such an explosive offense, I don't want to put my offense in a bind. So I think that's where you can up the tempo in this game. And I think you can really put that secondary for Mississippi State in some very uncomfortable positions. Now, mind you, the defensive line are really good at creating some chaos. They got a lot of tackles for loss. They got a lot of sacks on this season. But I think Hugh Freeze has to go with what his comfort level is, because at this point, yeah, you got a lot to lose, but you can't lose this game. I mean, you can't lose this game. You can't lose the game against Vanderbilt. I mean, Arkansas, you got to play them you got to play them in Arkansas, which will be a challenge. But still, this is a game where Auburn has to start to reel this thing in and show what things are going to look like for years to come. You're very close. I mean, you talk about the margin of error outside of the LSU game. I mean, you talk about a real slim margin of error against two very good football teams in Georgia and Ole Miss, to where some of these plays that Hugh Freeze talks about in his presser, you execute those, you get a couple of key stops, you get a penalty to go your way, we could be possibly having a different conversation. We got the prediction show coming up tomorrow. I definitely do appreciate the support. Now, like I said before, let's get the comment section active. Let's go ahead, and if you feel compelled to become a member, I appreciate the members that I do have. I do appreciate the support over the years in this channel. This has been so much fun, guys. Gives me an excellent outlet to do some things that I've always wanted to do, and that's just talk about football. Now, down in Deep South, college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. Auburn looks to rebound after losing 4 straight. And I think this is an excellent opportunity for Auburn to do so. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Have a great night, guys.